What's up, Flygon boys? Remember me? Flygon? The classic gaming YouTuber? Well, I'm back. This time with another, called a gameplay video. Well, let's just bring down some game volume, focus this on my soothing voice. This is a game called You Have 293 Keys, a game in 24 hours by Will Enders, based on a mock-up by Chelsea Saunders. Start. That's quite a long subtitle for a single title, but I've seen longer. Maybe I'll even put a longer one in my video episode if possible. So let's get started. Okay. As you can tell, the game is three-dimensional, which is definitely a plus. I only play 3D games, actually. Except the problem with 3D games is they have a noticeable lag on my computer. I'm running perfectly fine, but my recording is maxing out at about 0.2 frames per second. Now, I think the commentary is gonna make up for that frame rate drop. See, now I'm kind of back up to a couple frames per second, which is always nice. So I think the goal of the game is to find the correct key. Nope. Not that one. Nope. Not that one. So you see, it's a kind of deep game, actually. Now, when I first started video game playing, it was a game called Cars for the Nintendo GameCube. That was my first video game, and that one was a classic, but the problem with Cars is that it just doesn't have enough interactivity. You can drive around in it, but cars don't have hands, that's the problem. So cars can't use keys, of course. Wow, gonna have to tell it's lagging a bit. Don't worry, guys. Stick through it. Ah, crap. Ah, good, you can throw the keys off the cliff to do some cleanup. Well, back to what I was saying, the thing about cars is that you don't have hands, so you can't interact with keys. And that's usually what I look for in a video game, is interactivity with keys. So let's go through a few games that I do like and don't like, and I'll mention whether or not they include keys. Here's a game I do like. You Have 236 Keys, a game by this guy based on a concept by this other guy. Play. This game has keys and I love it. Now, another game that I do not love that doesn't have keys is E.T. the Extraterrestrial for the Atari. And I feel like people often mention production quality of E.T. the Extraterrestrial for the Atari as one of the major failures, but I think if the developers had kind of experimented with what a fun gameplay concept could be, they would have realized the value in having keys in their game, and that's why they didn't succeed, and that's why the video game market crashed. We're lucky that, here's a history lesson for you, Nintendo brought back the video game market by making the NES. People say that Super Mario Brothers brought the video game market back, but that's actually not correct. That's actually a common misconception. What actually brought back the video game market was the Legend of Zelda. And one of the key features of that game was saving. That was what the critics were talking about. But what critics didn't realize at the time was that Zelda was the first game ever made to include keys as a primary game mechanic. You can't open doors without keys. So that's what I would credit as saving the video game market. And let's look at another game, Skyrim. It's a kind of a niche title. Not many people have heard of it, but I played it. It's a open-ended game. There's a lot of stuff you can do, a lot of dungeons you can crawl. The concept kind of sounds weird in my mouth, but when you actually play it, you'll start to see some genius. For example, how they utilized locks. Typically, a lock, such as this one right here in this game, would require a key to open. But Skyrim, being an open-ended RPG, took a different route. Because instead of requiring you to use a key, you can use a key to unlock a door, but you can also lockpick using hairpins and stapler clips or whatever. And that parallels a couple things. First off, it parallels the choice that humans are given in real life to make their own destiny, choose their own careers, such as I am choosing this gaming channel career. But it also sort of gives this feeling, because in real life, you don't have to use a key to unlock a door. You can use a key to unlock a door. You can use a lockpick to unlock a door. You can hire a locksmith to unlock a door. You can just cut the lock off. See, there's a lot of things you can do, and all of those things can lead to you being robbed. I have actually personally been robbed multiple times by a man who hired a locksmith to break into my house. It doesn't often get reported on in the news, but these are serious issues facing our society, and that's why I like video games, because they kind of allow you to take a bird's eye view of society and see our problems in a unique way. Now back to the discussion matter, keys in video games. I'll go on to another game that includes a key, and that is Steam. Now Steam isn't exactly a game by reviewer standards, but in my opinion everything is a game, you just have to try hard enough. Steam includes multiple keys, but not the keys you're thinking of. Steam, there are locks called credit card requirements, but if you get a key, what some call like a redemption code or whatever, you can actually bypass those locks called credit card requirements, and you'll get a game for free as long as you have that key. So that's kind of an interesting concept, and it does really parallel the lock and key aspect of the real world, but it also sort of goes where real worlds can't and kind of explores into video games in their own way. So I think I'm about halfway done with these keys. And there. Now back to video game history. Keys actually have a long history in video games. Not just how like they came about, but also how they've evolved. So I'm gonna look at a game called The Legend of Zelda 2, Link's Adventure. And look at how that game uses keys in a way that Zelda, the Legend of Zelda, the original one, did not. You see, the Legend of Zelda, The Adventures of Link, is a 2D platforming game. The Legend of Zelda original is not. The Legend of Zelda original is actually a top-down. It's still 2D, but it's top-down. It's sort of a adventure type game. Now, each of these games has, of course, different play styles, but they also both have one thing in common, and that's the presence of keys. But the thing is, both games use keys differently. For example, in the Legend of Zelda original, a key is often used to open a 2D top-down door. And that kind of parallels the game's 2D top-down nature. While on the other hand, the Legend of Zelda Link's Adventure uses keys for a 2D side view door. And that of course parallels the game's 2D side view nature. Now this is sort of a thing that most games journalists don't tend to cover. Games journalists these days, they're always doing random stuff. They're always complaining about whatever, but they're not talking about the real things. If games journalists start doing more looking into what a game is and not what a game is rated, we as a society would understand the importance of these keys just a bit more. Now I'll go to one last historical example of the evolution of keys, and this is a game called The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time 3D for the Nintendo 3DS. This was actually the first 3D Zelda game, hence the 3D in the title, but also it was the first 3D game to include keys as a core gameplay concept. But the thing is, these keys did not open flat 2D doors like they did in the original Zelda, and they did not open flat side view doors like they did in The Legend of Zelda Link's Adventure. These actually opened fully rendered 3D doors, similar to what you would see in real life. Typically a door is 3D. I've actually yet to see a 2D door in real life, but that's besides the point. Surely someone has. And this is again that Nintendo innovation. People always say Nintendo's doomed because they don't make shooters, but shooters don't have keys. And I'd take key-based gameplay over any shooter. Looks like I'm doing pretty well. The problem is, I'm already starting to run out of things to talk about. I'm 13 minutes in. I don't have a script. I found this game 5 minutes before I started recording. I'm surprised I've been able to talk about keys this long. I haven't actually studied the history of keys. This is just from my experience as a player. But there's always more to talk about. For example, when people think about keys, they typically think about these sort of yellow golden thingies that you put in a lock. But what was that I just said? Put in a lock? People think about keys, but often they don't consider the second half of a key, the lock. What is the meaning of a lock? I mean, look at it. The lock is the yin to a key's yang.
But why isn't a lock represented in gaming as prominently as a key? Now that's of course another misconception. Locks are actually represented even more prominently in gaming than keys. It's just not where you think. So, I'll take you through a look. Oh, good lord. Oh well. I'll take you through a look of some history of locks in gaming. Now, when you were a child, you may have heard the story Goldilocks. This story is actually a metaphor for locks, the yin to a key's yang. Goldilocks, I'll tell you the summary of the story just in case you haven't known it. But Goldilocks was actually a girl who had golden hair. Notice, golden hair, golden keys. Goldilocks, gold locks. Yellow, gold, keys. Locks, locks. You can already see some parallels, but that's not all. When Goldilocks enters a house in the woods, she meets 3 bears, or maybe she doesn't meet them, but instead she just steals their stuff and messes with all their belongings. So she'll sit in their chairs, she'll eat their cereals, she'll sleep in their beds. Each of these, there's 3 bears. There's a big bear, a little bear, and a medium bear. But each of these represents a lock on society. The big bear, Papa Bear, represents the lock of masculinity. Oftentimes when someone is too masculine, they'll have limited non-masculine traits. And that's kind of a lock. It's a lock. It locks what they're able to do. The medium bear, Mother Bear, is a lock on the concept of femininity. When someone is too feminine, they will express feminine traits over masculine traits. This is kind of an opposite of the masculine Father Bear's masculine lock. And that's actually why they married. If you delve into the backstory of Goldilocks, you'll realize that Father Bear and Mother Bear are kind of opposites. One's a man, one's a woman. And one's masculine, one's feminine. One's a father, one's a mother. There's a lot of differences and parallels you can draw, but that's actually because of a basic physics concept known as opposites attract. You see, when using magnets, the positive side attracts the negative side. It's as simple as that. Father Bear is the negative side. Mother Bear is the positive side. I'm not actually sure about that though, so don't quote me. But one of them is the positive side, one of them is the negative side. And since they're both opposites, positive and negative are opposites, masculine and feminine are opposites, mother-father opposites, they attract. And that's why they were attracted to each other, and they married. Now all this talk about Mother Bear, Father Bear will make you kind of wonder, where does Child Bear fit in? Child Bear actually fits in an interesting place in this whole dynamic, because Child Bear represents the lock of innocence. Child Bear is young, carefree, free of care. But with that carefreeness, he is restricted in ways. For example, he can't hold a job as many children do. He's just too carefree. That is another lock on society. Goldilocks, gold locks, gold keys, is the key. No lock can be opened without a key, and that's where Goldilocks comes in. when she comes to the Three Bears' house, she unknowingly unlocked all of those locks on society. That's what happened when she sat in their chairs. The lock kind of interacted with the key in a sort of unlocking relationship. And so that's the story. And it's about time I tie this back to gaming. Goldilocks was apparently named so because she had golden hair. People call them locks of hair. Now, we've already determined that those golden locks of hair are a metaphor for keys. Oh shoot, try this one out. We've already determined that those golden locks of hair are a metaphor for keys. Have you ever played a video game and saw somebody with golden locks of hair? For example, Princess Peach. Oh my god. Well, you get the idea. Wow. Nice. Well, that's about it. Thanks for watching. Whoa, you can jump in this game? That's pretty cool.